Hi knitters, welcome to the Guilty Knitter. This is Vivian from Montreal, and if you're a returning viewer, I appreciate you very much coming back to check out episode 7. And if you are new, welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. This is supposedly spring here in Montreal, but it's cold and it's snowy a little bit, and we're trying to pretend that spring is around the corner. And I have more on that score later because I have an exciting announcement. We're going to have a knit along, but I'm going to, sorry, something fell off the couch and scared me. We're going to have a knit along, and I'm really looking forward to announcing that, but I will talk about that later on. Let's do things in order. Okay, so what have I been doing in the last 2 weeks? Well, I've gotten together with my knitting friends here in Montreal, and that's been really fun. We've had a knitting circle here at my house last week, and we got together. A few of us got together then, and we've seen each other a couple of other times during the couple of weeks. Mostly we're from the Espace Tricot knitting circle, and we go there on Friday afternoons, and that's where a lot of us have met. And but we've gotten to, want to hang out elsewhere as well, because once a week just isn't enough, obviously, for us knitters. Other things that I've been doing, well, Monty, here's Monty. I'm going to say hello. He's not going to be too happy. Look at him, he's a little bit under the weather, I'm afraid. We've had a bit of a rough week. If he was a person, you'd think for sure he had a cold, because he's running, his nose is running, and he's sneezing a lot and doing this thing they call reverse sneezing. So it's basically, he's like, I don't know how you can't even describe it, but I guess it's like a wheeze, because he's having trouble breathing and he's got something, something's going on. So I suspect it has to do with his teeth, which are in rough shape, and he needs to have them cleaned and probably have a bunch of them taken out. And it might have, so he might have an abscess, which is causing an infection. So that's been on my mind quite a lot. And he wakes up in the middle of the night and does a lot of sneezing and wheezing and snorting. It's very pleasant. Poor little guy. Anyway, we'll see. I really hope that when he gets his teeth cleaned in a week or 10 days, he'll be feeling a lot better. Right now he's on antibiotics, so I'm hoping he's going to be feeling better soon. I've been thinking a lot because of watching various podcasts. Sometimes they really inspire me to think about what spirituality means to me. I guess from watching the Knitting Monk. I think his podcast is called Making Life or something like that, with the Knitting Monk. You'll probably find it if you just look for. I'll put a link to it. Anyway, the last episode I watched, he talked about creativity being a type of, a form of spirituality. I guess when you believe in God, you think of God as being the inspiration for you to create things. And I don't really believe in God, so in my youth, my parents never really talked about God. So I have a feeling that I've always kind of in my mind, God equaled spirituality. So there was a time when I did believe in God and I went to church, but once that period was over, I went back to not really thinking about it too much. And my son accused me of not really talking about spirituality at all during his childhood. And I guess that's true. So I've been thinking about it and thinking, the creative spirit that drives us all. I think everyone whether you're an artist or not, you have a creative drive, a creative spirit that gives you ideas to do things. And oftentimes I think what happens is we ignore those ideas and we think that they're not, maybe you dismiss them, or you kind of think, oh yeah, I should think about doing that sometime, and that's kind of cool. But then you forget because we all forget. When I was writing fiction, I would try to get try to get into the habit of writing down any ideas I had for writing fiction. Well, it's the same with anything. Like if you don't sort of keep track of those ideas, they'll just float into the ether and you're going to forget all about them. So I'm trying to keep track of my creative ideas and act on them when I can. And if I can't act on them right away, then I put them aside to act on them later, maybe. So maybe try to do the same, and maybe you too think, especially as knitters, we all have ideas. We get inspiration from patterns that we see on Ravelry or on Instagram, or what our friends are knitting, and that makes you think, oh, I gotta make one of those, but you don't necessarily want to make it exact same as the other person. So that's where your own creative spirit comes in. What would you do to make it your own? And I think that's a really great thing about knitting, is that we get to do, there's all kinds of leeway. Patterns are just guidelines, and the more experience you get, the more you realize you can do different things. You don't have to do exactly what the pattern says. If you get to a point where you're going, I'm not sure this is going to work for me, you should probably listen to that voice, because it's telling you it's not going to work for you. You need to fix something, you need to change something, and it'll be better. And if it's not better, well, at least you'll learn something from the process, so that next time it'll be better. Anyway, that's what I've been mulling over over this last couple of weeks, in terms of really being true to my creative spirit and recognizing it when it speaks to me. In fact, I'm going to insert a picture, because this isn't one thing that happens to me a lot. I get inspired to take pictures. I love to take pictures, and sometimes I'll see a shot and I'll go, oh, I really need to take, oh, I'd love to make a great shot, but I don't have my camera right there, or my phone just won't do the trick, or sometimes phones just have their limitations, and so, but I still take a picture often anyway. But anyway, I love to take pictures. So sometimes I just look at something and I go, oh, I think this would make a really nice shot, and the other day it happened to me, and I was in my dining room, and I have a beautiful painting in that room. I'll show it to you. I'll put a picture in. A painting that my husband gave me, and there's a kind of a nice story behind that painting. Many years ago, probably 10 years ago, he and I were up in the Laurentians, I think it was Saint Agathe, or I forget what little town we were in, and we were on vacation, and we went into a little gallery there, and I saw this painting, and I fell right in love with it. It was just so beautiful, right up my alley. Lots of, it had flowers. It was a still life. You'll see it, because Anyway, a few years later, we went to the same town, and we wandered into the same place, because we didn't buy it at that first time, because it was too expensive. It was beyond our means, and I couldn't justify it. So we didn't buy it. We went away. A few years later, we walked into the same gallery, and that same painting was there. And I fell in love with it all over again. I was like, oh my God, this painting's still here, and it's so beautiful. Well, the next Christmas, guess what I got for Christmas? My husband bought it for me without my knowing. It was just so sweet of him. And it's one of my favorite objects. Anyway, I will put a photo that I took of it in here somewhere, and you'll see how nice it is. So that's it. I just got a whim to sort of set up that shot, and I decided to do it, and it was, I don't know if it's a great photo, but it was really fun. And it only took me 5 minutes, and I did something. I acted on that creative spirit, which was, I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. But I think it's really important to validate that feeling we all have, to do things, to create things, to make a difference, to make the world a more beautiful place, So, moving on to knitting, because this is a knitting podcast. believe it or not. I know we've been talking about other things, but knitting is on the roster. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is, pause for 1 second. I have one finished object, and that is this, which is another, I guess, result of the creative spirit striking me at random this week. I mean, this yarn is from my my sweater that I made, the striped one with the green, and it's called the Clark pullover. And I use this to stripe the green yarn, and I had this gorgeous ball of yarn left, and I didn't want to let it sit in my stash, so I got the idea it would make a nice hat. And I like this blue, this turquoise as a contrast color, and so I did this little bit of color work and the corrugated ribbing, and it turned out really well. I mean, I think it looks pretty decent on me. I mean, if I just do a hat every week, then I'll always have a finished object, because this is the only thing I've managed to finish all week. But I'm still working on some really big projects, so does it look okay? I don't know. I really like it. It fits perfectly. My only issue is, even though this fits really nicely, I do find that this kind of ribbing feels tight, even though it's not really tight. I don't know how to describe that, but I have another hat with corrugated ribbing, and it's the same thing, but at least this yarn is not itchy, and my other one is a little bit itchy. It's an alpaca blend, and I do find it a tad itchy. Anyway, I made this up, and I'm very happy with it. It's made out of DK. This is Americana DK by Artfil in their confetti colorway. I'm calling it the Sprinkles hat, because doesn't it look like sprinkles? And this blue reminds me of that blue that we used to use to, you know, that food dye, food coloring that we used to use to do the, what am I trying to say? The icing on, you know, like a chocolate cake or something. Did you ever do that? I did that as a kid. I just loved using food coloring. And that kind of turned out about that color. So it's like a chocolate cake with sprinkles on it. That's how I look at this. Anyway, I love it. So, you know what, just for fun, I might write up the pattern. I mean, it's a super easy pattern, and, you know, it's nothing special, but it would be good practice for me. So yeah, I might just do that. Kind of exciting. All right, so that's my one finished object. And, okay, so, Cathedral Grove. Oh yes, I'm going to show you my works in progress. My works in progress are, okay, I am going to talk about my Cathedral Grove sweater that I'm knitting. This is a long-term project, as I have mentioned before. It's by José Paquin. I really like it. She's a Canadian designer. I think she's based in BC, but she obviously has a French background. I think she's Quebecoise. And yeah, so here it is. And she got inspiration for this pattern from the Cathedral Grove in British Columbia, which is near Tofino on Vancouver Island. And my husband and I have actually been there. We went on vacation there a few years ago, and it's just gorgeous. If ever you get a chance to go to that part of the world, it's so special. And yeah, so there's this grove of trees in the forest on the way to Tofino, and it's called Cathedral Grove, and you just walk in there and it's like you're in a cathedral. It's just incredible, really, really beautiful. So I can see why she thought of it as inspiration for this sweater with the long ribbing, or long cable pattern. So I would really like to not have to knit the sleeves on, like you're supposed to pick up the stitches for the sleeves here, and then knit them out, you know, so they're going to be attached to the main body of the sweater for the whole time. And I'm just afraid it's going to be too heavy and too difficult, because I'm already finding it hard on my hands to knit such a large thing. And so I thought maybe I'm going to try knitting the sleeves from the top down, from the shoulder down kind of thing from here, and then attaching them after. So I've never done something like that, but I thought, well, if I do a provisional cast on, something I've also never done, it should work, I think. But I think I'm going to go over to Spastry Co. and get some expert advice on that, because, yeah, I'm not used to altering patterns. I mean, that's not really altering, but I guess another way I could do it is to knit from the cuff up, but it would be hard to do the cables. I could do a plain sleeve and forget about the cables on the sleeve, which I had thought about anyway. So I might do that. Anyway, I'm very happy with it. It's from my husband. It's in the Briggs & Little colorway, denim colorway. Briggs & Little is a New Brunswick company that makes really nice yarn. It's 90% wool and 10% nylon. So it's a real workhorse of a yarn. So it's not soft, but it's a nice yarn. I quite like it. And I know it's going to soften up a little bit when it gets blocked, so I'm not too worried. He'll wear it at least once a year, just to please me. Okay, so that's my first work in progress, and my second one. Well, I may as well show you the socks that I'm making. Oh, I forgot the sock blocker. However, now I've already blocked it, so it looks pretty good. This is the half-finished object, but I am almost finished the second sock too, so I'm really happy. This is it's like a vanilla latte. It's called vanilla latte sock, but that's just this purl ribbing pattern, which is super easy. And I used the Sockmaticians German short row heel. Okay, so I've already talked about these socks a lot, so I'm not going to keep harping. They will be done really soon. My son's girlfriend's coming to visit us next Sunday because our son is leaving for China as we speak. He's on his way to China right now for 3 weeks to learn Tai Chi in the mountains. Isn't that great? I think it's great. I just wish I knew where he was going exactly. I can't get this kind of information out of him. It's impossible. So he's going to be somewhere learning Tai Chi. I probably won't hear from him till he gets back. I mean, that's what he's like. He's just not very communicative. So sad. I guess I'll make it, right? I'll make it 3 weeks. And he lives in Ottawa. It's not like I talk to him all the time. It's normal for us not to talk more than once a week. But I just, knowing that he's in Ottawa is one thing. Knowing that he's in China is another thing. It's a long way away, and it's hard to communicate with people over there. So we'll see. I'm sure it'll be a great trip for him. Anyway, Allison's coming to visit, and I'm going to give her socks, which are for her birthday, which was a few days ago. I'm having a coffee today in my New York Loves You mug. Cute, eh? All right, so that's my socks. And what else am I working on? I don't have a ton to tell you today. I hate to be boring, but that's the case. I really don't have a lot of things because all of this stuff I've already talked about a million times. However, that's okay. I'm going to make it a fairly short episode, and that's going to be fine. I do want to show you my gorgeous A Girl's Best Friend shawl, which has made a bit of progress since last time, but not a ton. It just seems like these long rows just make me crazy, and I can't just whip them off like some people can. So everything I'm working on right now has these, I'm getting to the point where they're very long rows. I mean, this is probably 200 and something stitches. And then I've got my 3-color cashmere, which is up to 350 or something like that right now, or not exactly sure, but in the 300s for sure. And this thing takes forever to do a row. I mean, 20 minutes, probably. I don't know. So that's why things are not progressing, I guess. That's why I have to do a hat once in a while. Just get it done and work on my hat, my socks. I like to change it up, as I've told you before. And at the I got together with some people at the library near us, where they have a knitting afternoon on Saturdays every other week. And there was a lady there who was saying that she had issues with her thumbs, and she's got tingling and numbness in her arms. And I was like, oh my God. She says she's been knitting obsessively. And I was like, yeah, it sounds like it. I'm so careful. I can't afford to, have serious issues. So I'm really conscious of not overdoing it. And I find that she does one project at a time. That's the only way she knows how to work, this person. And she was only knitting socks. And I thought these are all recipes for problems. If you're always working with the same size needle, always working with the same type of project, socks are a good idea, because you're always having to take the little breaks are kind of enforced, because if you're on magic loop, you're gonna have to adjust your needles every every 20, 28 or 30, 32 stitches. So there's that break in there, and that's really good for your hands. I mean, so I think socks in general are a good alternative to the bigger projects. But apparently, if you only knit socks and do that for several weeks or months, it's probably not the greatest. Anyway, so she's suffering a lot, and we were giving her a little bit of help with the idea of different stretches she could do and this and that. But she might have to just change it up, do something else for a while. And yeah, so that's what I do. I do a lot of different things, and it means that I really enjoy all my knitting. I really want to just work on this, to tell you the truth. I would really love to just finish this off, but I feel obligated to work on my husband's sweater. I want to get that off the needles, but I also want to get this off the needles. I don't know what to say. By the time my husband's sweater is done, it'll probably be too warm to wear it. His birthday is the 13th of May, which I may have mentioned as a goal for my sweater. We'll see. I'm not going to tell you all the names of the yarns I've been using for these projects, because I mentioned them in all the last 2 or 3 episodes, and you can always check the show notes on Ravelry, because I have a Ravelry page for this show. And I really hope you check it out. If you want to join us, feel free. And actually, this is what I was going to say. We are going to do a knit along, and this is an inspiration of my knitting pals and I. It was something, I don't know who suggested it, maybe me, I don't remember, to do a knit along, and we kind of tossed some ideas around, and I think it was Natasha who suggested we do a summer knit along. So we're going to call it Spring into Summer Knit Along. And it's to get everyone excited about knitting with linens and cottons and lighter stuff, so that we have something to wear or use or whatever for the summer. So that's what it's going to be. And I thought we could start April 15th and finish July 1st. I think that seems like plenty of time to get something on and off the needles. So I thought, yeah, knitting a spring into summer knit along. Now, I am going to be very slack about this. I'll start a finished object thread at some point, probably early on, because who knows, some people might have really small things they want to knit, and they'll want to put them up right away. It seems traditional that my camera stops working for some reason in the middle, at least once. I don't even know why, but maybe it overheats. I don't know. Anyway, so the knit along. I thought the parameters could be, pretty simple. Pick a summer or a light yarn, like a summer, like a linen or a cotton or a blend. It could be a merino linen blend or a merino cotton blend, whatever. But pick something that you can wear in the summer. So we were having a good laugh yesterday because my good friend Linda wants to cast on a Zweig, you know, the one, that great sweater that everybody's knitting by Caitlin Hunter. That's right. Anyway, she wants to cast that on, and she was saying, can I put that in for the knit along? I said, I don't think it really qualifies, but but it's on the, you know, it's the honor system. If you're knitting a sweater and you think you can wear it in the dead of summer, well, I guess you can join in. But the idea is to get us knitting in some new things that are summery. So it could be a bag, it could be a shawl, it could be a top or a light sweater, or, you know, anything like that. So I really hope you join in. It'll be fun. And one of the other members of my group, Natasha, says she'll make a project bag. She's a pretty good sewist, seamstress, whatever. She can make. She's been making bags, so she said she'd put one in as a prize, which I think is lovely. And Luce makes earrings. She said she makes some earrings. I mean, kind of an untraditional giveaway prize, but that might be nice. So, and we'll see what else pops up. You never know. But I figure I only have less than 50 subscribers right now. So think about that. Like, if you have a pretty good chance of winning a prize if you join in, because there aren't very many people watching this podcast. We're a select group, you see. That's how I look at it. And yeah, so join in and see what you think. I think it'll be fun to have some inspiration and see what people are going to come up with. I myself have this yarn. Okay, I'm going to pause this for 1 second. Yes, had to run off, excuse me, but to pick up some yarn that I should have brought over here before. But I'm going to show you some examples of some of the stuff in my stash that I'm thinking of using. It's gotten a bit darker. I hope the light's okay. This is the yarn I use for my for the Love and Lemons shawl that I talked about, I believe, in my last episode, which would have been episode 6. It's Shibui linen, and they don't actually make this exact thing anymore, but they have a substitute which is quite similar, and this one is sort of a chainette. You can't really see it, but I really enjoyed this yarn. I mean, it's so nice, and it softens up beautifully when you wash it. So I only have a couple of skeins of that left, so I doubt I'm gonna be able to do anything much with that, which is sort of sad, but I don't know. Maybe someday I'll find something to go with it. Back again. Yeah, so I have this yarn, which I like as a combination. Now that's a drops linen. I believe it's half linen and half cotton. 50-50. I think. Well, almost. It's like 53% cotton and 47% linen. And it's lovely. And I bought this originally to make a bag with. But then I started the bag, and you start with the bottom. You know, you do the sort of flat bottom, and then you pick up stitches all around and make your bag from that. But I had the hardest time getting away from picking up the stitches. I don't know. I just couldn't figure out how to do it. It was really annoying. So I actually made that bottom piece into a dish rag, so it's doing service in my kitchen right now. But I actually have I have 3 balls of each of this, which is not a lot because they're small balls of yarn. I think that it's only about 93 yards. Gosh. So it's really not a lot. Oh well. Anyway. I will figure something out. I might do a bag in the end with this. I'll just maybe pick a different pattern. Or maybe I can make like a little tank top. I don't know. These are all possibilities. Now, this is an old yarn that I bought way back 30 years ago or more, when my daughter's 32. Yeah, she's 32. Oh my God. Anyway, I made a top out of this pink yarn for myself when she was a baby. When she was 6 months old, I have a picture of myself wearing this kind of cute top, actually. I don't know what happened to it. I guess I had to throw it out eventually, but anyway, I have 2 or 3 balls of this left. I mean, I don't know what to do with that, but it's cotton. Maybe someday I'll work on that. Here's another linen blend. I think it's linen blend. Let's see, what is it? This is a Barocco. Yeah, 60 cotton, 30 linen. Now this is not a color I would ever normally buy. And don't ask me what. It was on sale. That's my excuse. It was quite cheap. But seriously, this is not my color. What was I thinking? However, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that I am knitting from stash for the time being. In fact, this all came about because I was watching the Celtic cast on way back before Christmas, and Kelly made an announcement that she was knitting from stash until her birthday, which was in March. And I thought, oh, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that. I'm going to knit from stash until Kelly's birthday, which is kind of random, but I certainly have been feeling like doing that because I have way too much stuff in my stash. I don't need to buy any more yarn for the time being, and it'll be a creative challenge to figure out things I can knit from my stash. I mean, as you see, most of my projects take me a long time to do. I mean, why should I worry about buying more yarn now when I have enough to last me at least a couple of years? So then her birthday rolled around. Well, I was not perfect about knitting from stash. I did cheat a few times, but I was pretty good. Better than I would have been. I think I mentioned this before, but this part I didn't mention. So during her last podcast, she mentioned that she and her friend Mars from the Hey Brownberry podcast, which is also a very nice podcast, by the way, they've decided that they're going to knit from stash again. They're going to extend it until Mars's birthday, which is in November. And she challenged me because I had told her about my idea to knit from stash until her birthday. She said, "Why don't you join in and keep knitting from stash until till November?" And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it. It's going to be super good for me, and it'll make me feel so much better about my stash because this yarn just looks at me and it says knit me, knit me, knit me, and then I go out and buy another ball of yarn, and it's just crazy, right? It's a crazy consumer society that we're in. And you know what? It's not really okay. It's not okay to just buy yarn and then have it sit there for your future, grandchildren to worry about. Anyway, that's my little rant. I'm as guilty as anyone, but I think this year I'm going to try to keep it to mostly stash. We each get one sheet. That's what she told me. So it's gonna be fun. And what else? So anyway, if you out there have a huge stash or even a moderate sized stash, I wouldn't say mine is huge compared to some people. Let's say the grocery girls, for instance. Mine is a decent sized stash. I certainly have enough to last me the rest of this year, possibly next year as well. I don't even know when. I have no idea, but I have a lot of stash. So if you guys have that kind of stash and you'd like to try to rein it in a little bit, save your money and use your imagination. When I think about it, like when I bought this yarn, take that as a little example, this yarn from the Green Mountain Spinnery, I bought it and I thought, oh, this is so beautiful. Look at that colorway. I'm going to do something really nice with it. And I bought three balls of it, 3 skeins. And it's been sitting in my stash for a year and a half, if not more. And I love it, but I still haven't figured out what I want to knit with it. I can do that, though. That's part of the fun, is figuring out what you could do with the stuff you have. because obviously you were inspired to knit something when you bought it. Just stare at it a little bit more and it'll inspire you again. That's my hope. Oh, but okay, talk about knitting, sort of stash enhancement mistakes. Let's put it that way. I should have a whole segment on stash enhancement mistakes. But okay, back in my early days of knitting, I bought this yarn. It's called Barocco Captiva, and it's 60% cotton, 23% polyester, 17% acrylic. Now, and it's this crazy bright blue, which I guess I thought would be good on me. I have no idea if it will be, but and I bought enough to make a top, a kind of a sweater, but a summer sweater, because it's very loose. It's got a loose gauge, like almost a netting type of thing on your. I should show it to you. Oh gosh, okay. Back again. I seem to be running it in and out of the room all afternoon. Okay, so this is from this book it's by Sally Melville, and it's called The Knit Stitch, Inspiration and Instruction. And it's my sister's, and it's on long-term loan to me. Thank you, Nora. And I got it from her when I just got back into knitting, and I thought, oh, it's got some really neat things in it, and it's all knitting, no purling. Right up my alley. So I'm thinking of making this particular sweater, which I don't know if you can really see it that well, but it is opaque, sort of from here down, and you can do opaque at the front only, or the front and the back, and then this part and the sleeves are not opaque. What do you call it? What's the opposite of opaque? Sheer. That's it. So sheer on the sleeves. Anyway, it's a lovely pattern, and I'm interested to try it. But so this is what I was going to use this for. Now I know I cast on for that sweater, and I think I gave it up for some particular reason, which escapes me now, because I frogged it. What I think happened is that I got frustrated because I think this was a difficult yarn to work with. So I'm going to make another swatch with it in that pattern, for that pattern. And if it's really annoying to work with, then I'm going to forget about it. That will not be my knit along project. I might have to try to destash it, give it away, I don't know, something. Because for some reason this particular bunch of skeins weighs on me heavily, because I think what possessed me to be sort of, I was sort of talked into buying this yarn, but it's my own fault because, anyways, long story. Not sure it was an acquisition mistake possibly, but we'll see. Maybe it'll turn out really nicely. I don't know. So that's that. Those are the options I have. Another option which you might be interested in is this, which is the Liesel pattern by Julie Weisenberger, and it's Coco Knits put this out, and I made this pattern. You can see there's different views of it over here. I made this a couple years ago, and I wear it a lot. I'll pause this and I'll show you, but before I take this sweater off, let me just tell you about, this is the Sun Daughter by Diana Walla. Isn't it gorgeous? I've been known to call it my third born child, because when I first put it on, I had this feeling that I produced it, like in some, out of my body. Well, I guess I did, sort of. But anyway, it's just my favorite thing. Now I'm going to change and show you the other one. So here it is as a kind of a tunic, and it is a tunic. Like, you can use it, you can wear it just like this. You can wear it over a top like I am right now in the winter, over a pair of leggings, or you could wear it in the summer. I actually don't wear it in the summer that much because I find it's kind of awkward, like it's too drapey here, and like, yeah, I might have made these armholes a little smaller had I known more what I was doing. But I did this the first year I was back to knitting, and I may not have really known what I was doing, but it really came out remarkably well, I thought. I didn't do the pockets. There are pockets. But I just thought that those would stick out in an unflattering way for me. It's not that I want to really draw attention to that area of my body, if you know what I mean. But it's a fun knit. It was good. So there's that. So yeah, these are all possibilities, and I hope that you will get excited and cast something on for our knit along. The Guilty Knitter knit along. The Guilty Knitter Spring into Summer knit along 2018. It'll be fun. Okay, so is that it for today? What was I going to talk about? Oh, yeah, I could tell you a little bit about my techniques and methods section. I wanted to tell you in my methods and techniques about two things. One is that an alert viewer named Jen or Jan, I forget. Sorry, Jen or Jan. She mentioned a technique for purling, which is called the thumb purling, I guess. And I think that it really ends up being very similar to Portuguese purling, but you only use. I tried it out myself, and I had a bit of trouble kind of figuring it out. But I think what you do is you wrap the yarn around your thumb, and you work the purl like that. And I mean, actually, theoretically, it could be fast. I don't know, but I haven't figured out how to tension the yarn so that it really works. Anyway, I'm going to work on that a little bit more. But if you're interested, if you're a continental knitter and you have trouble with the purling, you can look up this video that that Jan put a link to on my last episode. Yeah, it was a very clear video. I just didn't give it enough time, but I will try to figure out if that's an option for me. I must say that Portuguese purling is so easy that the only downside of Portuguese purling is having to put the yarn around your neck or on a thing, around your neck. That's the only part that I find a little tedious. But once you get going, like I bet, when you've got over 400 stitches, it's nice to it's a super easy way to purl. Okay, another thing I want to talk to you about is getting back to this hat, the corrugated ribbing, which is basically you knit. In this case, I knitted with the confetti yarn and I purled with the turquoise yarn. And at first, I kind of forgot how to do it, and I had the purl yarn in my right hand and the knit yarn in my left hand. And I thought, well, I could just keep the yarn at the front the whole time, so that makes it really easy. No. If ever you're doing corrugated ribbing, put your yarn for your purl in your left hand. And that way it's easy to move it back and forth, because you really do have to move back and forth, because otherwise you're going to get that purl, that yarn is going to be covering the knitting. It's gonna cover it just won't look right. You won't get that stripy striped texture that you want. So yeah, anyway, there's lots of good videos out there. I didn't get around to making one where I actually thought I was going to, but I didn't. But it's a really fun technique if you ever want to try it. Like, it's not hard once you get the hang of it. I mean, if ever you're doing color work anyway, doing some stranded ribbing is not hard to add it up. It's just easy color work, actually. Okay, so that's my little tiny methods corner. Podcast review section, and I have 3 podcasts to mention today. Did I mention Bee and Rose last time? I don't think I did. Bee and Rose is it's spelled BEA. So it's this, I guess I think maybe Rose is the name of the hostess, or the host of the podcast. I can't remember what her name is, but she's terrific. She's hilarious. She's from England. She's from somewhere near London, I think. Not quite sure. And so she has a pretty thick accent that sometimes I'm not quite sure what she's saying, but it's really fun. She's kind of zany, and she's a very good knitter. She does all kinds of stuff. She's also she does sewing as well, tons of different crafts. So if you're interested in sewing, that she might be a good one to check out. Yeah, she has a fun sense of humor. She knits for all her kids, not so much for herself, I get the feeling. Yeah, she's fun. So that's a good one. And the other one, I was just watching a really good episode of the Milk Thistle podcast. This episode I really enjoyed. She was talking about some very interesting projects. One was a Stephen West, I think it was called the parachute dress, or parachute shirt, or whatever you want to call it, top. And yeah, that kind of made me want to try it, because it takes basically it's one of those stash busting projects, and I think it might be a lot of fun. And I really liked what she did with that project, so she'd be one to watch, because she has some really interesting ideas, and she's a prolific knitter, it seems like. Yeah, that was good. So that's the Milk Thistle podcast. And then there was Bellum Make Knits with Shannon Bellum, and I think she said she's from New Jersey, and she is, I forgot to say that the girl who does Milk Thistle, and I forget her name, she is an Australian, but for some reason she was podcasting from California, so I don't know what the story is, whether she's moved there or whether she's just there for a short time, but she generally podcasts from Australia, I think. If it's not Australia, then it's New Zealand. Sorry, get those mixed up sometimes. Sorry, I'm ignorant North American over here. Yeah, so Bellum Make Knits. She's Shannon Bellum. She's a designer, and she's quite good. I liked her podcast quite well. Anyway, you'll enjoy all three of those, I think. So yeah, Bellum Make, she has some interesting patterns that she's showing of her own, and she also knits other people's. So yeah, lots of interesting information. I use the word interesting a lot, don't I? I should start getting more vocabulary. I'll jot that down. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's it. I believe I am done today's episode, and it's high time because it was long. I thought it was going to be short, but I think it's starting to get long. Anyway, it's really fun to be back with you guys, and I really appreciate your your patience and your interest, I guess. And I hope you come back, press like, press subscribe. And if you made it this far, you might want to carry on and listen a little bit more, because I'm going to add a special little piece of music that my husband and I recorded for fun to play over some photos. Like I said, I really like to take photos, and I have so many photos that I have just been sitting in my computer, and I thought, well, why don't I use them to show you some little bits of the world that I visited? Because being a musician with the Montreal Symphony Orchestra, I've been on many, many tours. Plus, I've had the great good luck of being able to go on vacation to many different parts, not many different parts, but a lot of times in Italy, because my husband and I love Italy. But we've been elsewhere too, and we've really enjoyed taking pictures in many parts of the world. So I thought that could be my little theme at the end of each episode. I'll have a little slideshow of various places that I've visited, and with some music, original music recorded by me or my family. They're all very helpful musically. We'll see. Hopefully every week it'll be fun, and it'll be a little reward for getting all the way to the end of the podcast. You can also fast forward, of course, and check it out. So, happy knitting, and we'll see you back here in a couple weeks. Please find me on Instagram if you want. I am at Guilty Knitter. And on Ravelry, I am OSMVIV. And there's a possibility I might switch my account over to Guilty Knitter, but I haven't done it yet. So if you can't find me as OSMVIV, which I'm going to write on the screen, you can probably find me as the Guilty Knitter. But as I said, we have a Guilty Knitter page for the show, and I'll put all the show notes over there. And please introduce yourself and join in some conversation. And definitely come and join our knit along. Okay? See you in a couple weeks. Happy knitting! Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. And I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But when ye come and all the flowers are dying, if I am dead as dead I well may be, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me. And I shall hear those soft dew tread above me, and all my grave will warmer, sweeter be. For you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to